And welcome to another show of Don't Get This Twisted. I am the professor, along with my co-host, as always, Tina. How are you doing today, Tina?
I'm good, Professor. How are you today?
Oh, peachy keen.
Good.
So today we're going to talk about something that you brought up that I thought was a pretty interesting conversation to talk about. It's taking care of your elderly parents. And since we are at that age where our parents are obviously getting a little older, you said that you had some friends that wanted to talk to you about it. And that was why you brought it up to me. And I thought, hey, you know what? You're right. We should probably talk about something since these are the things that are happening in our real life.
Absolutely.
So to that, I say, let's give you the mic for a little bit while I check a few stats and you can kind of give the story of how this come to our show.
Okay. So I have a couple of friends who have come to me recently and said that their parents have either Alzheimer's or dementia to some degree, and they're dealing with the frustrations of taking care of their elderly parent. Being a caregiver is not an easy thing, especially when you have someone who's not in their right mind. And when they're going through things like Alzheimer's, there's so many degrees to which you have to go through with them because of how their illness works. And basically it just takes their memories away from them. So my friends are dealing with the fact that their parents don't remember them. They're dealing with the fact that their parents don't have normal behaviors anymore, as far as like bathing, or they're having problems with them getting off the toilet before they're done actually going, and things. They're really just going through things that would be hard for anybody to watch a parent or anybody that they love go through. So they come to me because it seems like I've already gone through this. If it wasn't with my mom didn't get that bad. She didn't have Alzheimer's, but she did have a brain aneurysm. So dealing with a brain that wasn't completely functional wasn't the easiest thing to do, but she didn't have the same sort of issues that my friends' parents are having. But I did help take care of my grandparents before they passed. So we do tend to throw things around, and I feel for these people because I was looking on Google, and 75% of people that take care of the elderly that are in their family are female. They spend much as 50% of their time with the person. And about 14.5 million caregivers are male. And out of the 43.4% who care for an older family member. So there's just a lot of people that are dealing with this issue. So yeah, I thought that it would be cool to kind of go through some of the things that I've noticed and maybe try to help out a little bit with dealing with that. Did you want to throw in your stats?
Yeah, I found a couple of here on Pew Research Center, PEW. They're kind of really small ones, but it is definitely something that is weird, or not weird, but high that I thought. There's 40 million unpaid caregivers of adults ages 65 or older.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty high. Adults ages 45 to 64 are the most likely to be caregivers, which is kind of where we're at.
Yep.
Most caregiving for aging parents is not in the form of financial support or personal care. So they're doing it to do it, which, makes sense. Emotional support is a big part of the caregiving.
Absolutely.
And then most adults who have helped an aging parent see it as rewarding, few say it is stressful.
Really, because I would say that it's very stressful, and I would say that my friends would too.
I agree. It says 88% say it's rewarding.
I would say it's rewarding because if you can put aside all of the work that's involved and you could be present and be in the moment and slow your life down to accommodate the person that you're caring for, you could find a lot of things to be happy about. You get to hear stories that your parents would maybe not have told you if you weren't around, or you get to spend time that you wouldn't normally. Maybe you get to have a different relationship other than one that you would have as more of a kid versus parent. So there are really rewarding parts to it, but there's also a lot of stress too. My friends, the ones that I'm talking about in particular that are dealing with dementia, they're watching their parent completely, I want to say, disintegrate in front of them because they're losing weight. They're looking very gaunt. They're starting to, it's like the lights are on, but nobody's home is what they're seeing. So they're seeing their parents slow down, and they're watching them age, but without their memories. They don't hear, their parents don't hear. So they're having to yell. And yelling when you're dealing with somebody who's going through dementia makes them anxious. So that's a problem. You have to deal with doctor's appointments. You have to deal with them hoarding certain things. You have to get their affairs in order. If you want to take your elderly parent on vacation, you need to slow down the vacation to accommodate the fact that they're not the same parent that they were when you were a teenager and they were running after you. So there's a lot of things that have been stressing out my friends. And I kind of feel like I'm blessed right now that my dad's not going through that. He pretty much takes care of himself, but it in the past has been very frustrating and very, very much a labor of love. And then when you don't know what you're doing, because if you've never been a caregiver before, you really learn things by just trial and error. And I'm seeing that too, as far as what my friends are having to go through. So they come to me and they tell their stories, and I try to make them laugh. I try to make light of it. I try to let them see that this is a blessing. One thing that I always say to them is, I would give anything to have one more day with my mom, even if she was doing whatever they're complaining about. Try to put it in perspective.
Right. I mean, obviously it's got to be a difficult thing when you're watching your parent that you remember as a child or a young adult who is just deteriorating into something that is hard to look at. It cannot be easy. I mean, I'm a little lucky. I mean, my dad, who is out of state, is married and has someone that is younger than him.
Nice.
So he's kind of lucky. I mean, he has someone who can take care of him and will. My mom lives alone. Thankfully, she doesn't have any kind of dementia, but she's ill. And I worry about that. I mean, it cannot be easy. And to watch your parent disappear, it has to be the hardest thing in the whole world.
It absolutely is one of the hardest things you have to watch. And just seeing the progression of the illness, seeing them slow down, seeing the aches and pains, seeing how they can't keep up, their driving suffers, their sight suffers, everything suffers as they get older, and how frustrating that must be also for them, because they, in their mind, see themselves as being completely capable. But then when they go to do the things that they set out to do, they can't do it. I couldn't imagine being in that place. I'm not there yet. Like, my body works. I could do whatever I need to do. I couldn't imagine thinking that I could do things and then physically not being able. So I kind of feel bad for the parents that are having to go through those lessons of letting go of expectations that they're not able to meet anymore.
Sure.
Yeah, that's all hard. So in talking to my friends, some of the things that we talk about is what it's like to not have a parent. Like, I really talk to my friends about that. And I say, look, bottom line is you still have your parent here. You could still love on them, hug on them. You could still take them places, see them. You could physically have a conversation with them. I don't have that. So no matter what you're going through with your parent, you've got it better than I do. So appreciate it. Take the time, slow things down, not be so frustrated. I know that we all have busy lives, but time right now is something that if you have a parent that's older and still alive is what you get right now. You get the time. What you do with it, though, could either make or break memories that you could or would have if you just took the time with them.
Yeah. I mean, I think time is, it's a while ago, I wrote kind of a poem about time. It's the biggest currency we have.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Because you can't buy it. You can't get it back. You can't ask for more. So when you have time, take it. And hopefully while they're in their healthy years.
Yes, absolutely. Being a caregiver is one of the most selfless acts you could ever possibly do for someone that you love. It is also by far the hardest job you will ever have to have. You need to make decisions hoping that you're doing what the person you're taking care of would want you to do. You're having to look at the fact that they're not going to be around. You have to look at the fact that they're getting older, that they're deteriorating. And nobody wants to see that. Like, nobody wants to know what it's like to not have a parent when they still have their parents. So I couldn't even imagine the level of stress that is on somebody in the back of their head as they're trying to keep their parent healthy and alive.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about that too is again, there's stress. You still have your life as well. So I can't imagine if you were a caregiver who had children who now have to take care of parents and children and try to keep a marriage going and all these things and if you're 100% caregiver, at least you've quit your job and you're only doing that. But I couldn't imagine if you're sharing the duties. So you work all day and you pay someone during the daytime to take care of them. And then you run home and you have to do the second part. It's got to be a very frustrating thing. And on the flip side, the parent who thinks they're still okay and, they don't realize it. So they're getting angry and they, forget things. So now they're angry at themselves or something like that. It's got to be twofold stressful.
Absolutely. I agree with it 100%. It's definitely for me when I was doing it. So let me think for a second. When I was doing it, my grandfather was ill and we brought him into my parents' home. My mom was also ill. She was struggling with addiction and was very sick because of it. So we had two people that we were constantly trying to care for. My mom was full of piss and vinegar and did her own thing. Like, she was still capable and of taking care of herself, but she did things like, the lighting her hair on fire because she was putting her head over the stove to light a cigarette. So we had to watch things like that. But then I also had my grandfather who had, a lot of different ailments that were going on, and we were trying to keep him healthy and alive. So there was that. I had adopted a daughter and I was trying to raise her, and I was married and trying to take care of him. And I had a job and I was going to school. So I don't even know how I found time to do what I did. I just didn't sleep very much. And that's another thing that I see that caregivers go through is that they don't sleep because of having to be up, whatever time of the day or night for whomever it is they're taking care of, or because they're worried, stressed out. Money's a big issue when you're trying to take care of somebody because it's an added mouth, plus prescriptions, plus gas, plus anything else that needs to be purchased for them. It's a very stressful thing. And yes, it was rewarding. And I wouldn't give up the time that I had with either my grandfather or my mother. But it did wear me down. It did wear on my relationship. It did wear on my relationship with my child as well, because there was time that they went without because time had to come from somewhere to take care of everybody.
Sure. I mean, you can tell just by, how you're talking, the effect that it had on you. There's no way of, and again, there's no way of getting that time back either. So yes,
Agreed.
you're filling that time for the people that you think are in need. And then you're right, you're taking away from other people that were also in need. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's a no-win situation when you're burning the candle at both ends, because you are, whether you want to say you are or not, really
Right.
it's irrelevant.
But how do you say no to somebody that needs help though? You know what I mean? So you're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't. You just have to take what comes at you and just run with it.
Exactly. So what are your friends doing? Like what are they doing to cope? What are they doing to make life livable and take care of the people in their life?
Well, one friend that I was talking to, his mom's going downhill really fast. And he didn't have a great relationship with his mom for a long time, nor did he have a great relationship with his brother. And I had to tell him he needed to start mending fences and fixing things because time was running out on every angle. And just be there for her and love her through this. He took over power of attorney. He had to sell her place. He had to put her in a home. He had the guilt just putting her in a place because she got violent, physically hitting. You can't have that around your kids. You can't have that around anybody. I mean, it wasn't safe. She was running away, so it wasn't safe for her to stay anywhere. So he had to take over all of that and put her in a place. And now he's happy that she's safe, but now there's he can't take her out because she's getting up before she's done using the restroom, and she's not cleaning herself properly. And there's all these things. And that alone just sounded so devastating when he was telling that story. And I could imagine that it was devastating watching your mom go through this. And I had to basically tell him, you can't change this. You can't fix this. There's no pill that she could take. The only thing that you could do is love her through it. You still have your mom today. You could still spend time with her, find a way. I don't know if you need to sit and just listen to music, or you want to go out to lunch, and you're just going to have find a way through it. And then I got a random text, and it was a video of him just dancing with his mom. I cried and cried and cried when I saw that, because I'm like, that's exactly what I'm saying. You're taking the time to just love her. Everything's all fucked up. It's going to be all fucked up. But you just made for yourself a memory. You made it a little less stressful for you. You just loved her through it a little bit more. And I was impressed by that, because men especially have a hard time showing affection and love towards many people. And the fact that he was at the point where he was dancing with her, I thought, there we go. That's exactly what you should be doing. Just enjoying the moment. You don't have to fix her. You don't have to change anything. You just need to be there and make that memory, because the memory is only going to be good for him. She's not going to remember anything.
Right.
But as we grow up and stuff, we're kind of shitty to our parents anyway. There's a lot of things we could have said, could have done, could have changed, could have acted different. I I think of all the times that my mom and I fought. I was like, really, were those necessary? And I have to say, yes, they were. They were necessary because we were two strong women with two different opinions, and that's how we got through things. But I look at other people when they're frustrated with their parents and they fight with them, they turn their back. You should never do that. No fighting in a family should be worth walking away from. And there should never be fighting to that degree, and there should never be the walking away. So just being there, loving them through it, being in the moment because you can, I think, and being happy for the time, I think are the things that just make it less of a pain in the ass. Like you could take, I have friends and even I've done this when my mom was alive, and take them on a vacation, and you go back east and you run it like super warp speed because you want to show them everything there is to show them in a vacation time. They can't keep up at that speed. So, even slowing down so that you could enjoy the vacation, you set the expectations lower so that nobody feels stressed out like they have to perform or be and do quickly just to make the vacation go is something that, is easy to fix. There's easy fixes for these things, not so much the Alzheimer's, because once the brain goes, that's a little rough, but enjoying the moments more is definitely something that you should strive for, especially when times are really hard.
Yeah. And I think as we get older, we're, you think your parents are going to live forever. I mean, that's how we want it, right? We want to make believe and say, hey, they're going to be here forever. And when we take that for granted. And I think with everyone, we take that for granted. Yes. But I definitely think with our parents, we for sure do. And look, we all have our own lives. We all, if you get married, you have your own life and you have your own thing that you have to, deal with or whatever. But I definitely think you do have to find that time, because if you don't, regret is a horrible thing. Mm-hmm. Living with any kind of regret, it'll drain you, right? So try to not live with regret. And even if you can't see them, because my parents are out of state and it's going to be hard for me to just, get up and go. But, we live in the world of FaceTime and we live in a world of video calls, and, I think it's up to us to make sure that we see them, even if it's from afar, and make sure that they see your children or they see these people or whatever, because it's going to be gone soon and there's no getting that back. And like I said, I'm not like you, I have both my parents that are still alive. I have no idea how that must have really affected you to the core. Yeah. Because I remember seeing you guys together.
Yeah.
It's so I get it. And being, again, the manly person, because like you kind of said about that, emotions are hard for people, of mostly men. Yeah. I think that we're meant to be strong and have that metal casing around our emotions. And you can't do that. I mean, at least to me, I'm a very emotional person, so I don't have that. Like I will, I cry at Braveheart. So it's, I'm a little different, but I think that men in general, you need to understand that, yes, there's a place to be strong and there's also a place to be emotional.
And really, you said that your parents are out of state. It's hard for you. It's hard for me. Like I can't get to my mom. So to me, when I hear that, I'm like, okay, that's an excuse. And probably because I'm an asshole, I'm just going to say that to you. It's an
You're an
excuse.
asshole?
I'm an asshole for saying that because if you have the ability, make the time. Like there's so many. I wouldn't give up any moment, even my worst moments with my mom, my grandmothers, my grandfather. I, you know, I remember my grandfather when it got to the point where he couldn't hold his poop in, like. And there were times I had to change him. And he said, I'm so sorry, honey, that you have to do this for me. And I said, well, you did it for me. Now I'm making this evening. Carmen's going to be square by the time we're done with this. And let's just do it and move on. It doesn't have to, he was uncomfortable for sure. Because even he had a catheter that I had to help, not rinse, but like flush out and do different things too. I couldn't imagine being him with me, but I just told him, look, you did it for me. I'm going to do it for you. Let's just get this done and we'll pretend it never happened. And that's what we did. And the little things that he said while that was going on were kind of the coolest of things that he could have said to me. We just had a different connection because of that. So as hard as it was, I don't believe that I would change anything. I would maybe slow it down a little, maybe not take it all at the same time, because it seems like when all of this was going on, everything else in my life was going to shit. So I guess my advice to anybody that's going through it is you got to breathe. And it sucks. Yeah. And you don't get to do what you want. You're going to be home a lot and your needs aren't going to be met. You're going to be the last one to be able to shower. You're going to be the last one to be able to sit and have any sort of thought. Being a caregiver means that you're going to be on pretty much 24/7. Mm-hmm. So in saying that, take the time to get in the shower, take the time to slow down for a doctor's appointment, leave a little bit earlier, not rush to try to get them in the car because nothing's going to go right. You just have to slow down and you have to get a thicker skin because you're going to hear stuff about them that's going to make you go, oh my God, they're going to die. And you're going to want to take care of your own emotions, but yet you're going to see the person that you're taking care of going through the same exact thing, like, oh shit, I'm going to die. And I remember when my grandfather was getting close and I was noticing that it could happen. And gosh, that was a hard time. And I just had to say, that's okay, Pops. We're just going to love you through this and everything's going to be as it needs to be. And shit, I didn't even know if I was saying the right thing at the right time, but that's all I could come up with.
Right. It's whether they're just elderly or they're sick. I have a nurse friend who took care of her father while he was dying. I mean, he was ill. He was, There was no anything. And, like you were talking about, like the things that she remembers, like funny things, like, I mean, obviously he couldn't take care of himself and she did have to, clean his bathroom and do all this stuff. And if you can believe this, he made dick jokes all the time to her, like, because obviously it wasn't the same and it wasn't going to be, things weren't working the same. And she remembers those funny things about that, like, and that he was, kind of like yours, like hurt that she had to clean him.
Yeah.
Like I think it hurt him to be in that situation. And I mean, she quit her job or she took leave to take care of her father as he died. And again, whether it's someone with dementia or someone dying, the responsibility of taking care of your parent has to be a hard one.
It's very hard. I would say for me, it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to go through. I believe that I learned the biggest lessons going through that, but I also believe I got memories that nobody else got to have because nobody wanted to be around to do what I was doing. So I took notice to that, and I squeezed it for every freaking ounce of goodness that I could get out of it. I was I talked before in one of our episodes that I was going through fertility treatments. So my grandfather and I were basically at the doctor's office at least 4 times a week. Between the two of us, there were days, and he knew my ovulation schedule. So there were weekends or there were days where he's like, okay, I don't want to see you for the next couple of days. You guys go home, do what you got to do, make me a baby. Like, and I was so grateful because my grandfather got to know me in ways that most people didn't have, the closeness that we got because of that was pretty, I don't know, it was kind of cool. It was uncomfortable for a lot of people, but it was also really cool because he knew me and we took that time to know each other in ways we didn't. He used to make jokes too, when girls would bend over to give him a kiss and he could see right down his shirt. And he would say, does the bra match the panties? And that was so not how he was normally, but I think he was just looking for something to say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you're in that position, you start to not give two shits. You know what I mean? You're like, what are they going to say?
Right. And
they're just going to go, oh, silly.
And he was always such a gentleman, like to hear it, that kind of blew us away. So when he did say it, we'd be Papa and start laughing. And, it's just kind of whatever was going on. It just made it that much more fun.
Right.
But also like, oh, am I glad grandma's not around? Because shit would hit the ceiling right now.
Which is super awesome. I mean, if you really think about it, like at the end of his life, he lived.
Yes, he got to show us who he was without being censored by my grandmother or his kids.
Yeah, I mean, kind of in a way, he did get something at the end of his life.
Yeah.
So your friends, so you said you have several friends. They're obviously dealing with the situation that they're in the best they can. Mm-hmm. Other than your story, what would you, or maybe not other than your story, with your story, what would be the few things you would tell our listeners, like if they're starting this journey of taking care of their parents, what would you tell them?
That it's going to be a long, hard road. So drop the expectations, live in the moment, know that your house isn't going to be as clean as it normally would. May not get to work on time. There's going to be nights you're not going to sleep. There's going to be things you don't want to do. There's going to be situations that you don't want to make decisions. And it's all okay to feel like that, but it's not okay to not do something. You have to rise to the occasion. You have to do whatever it is that you have to do. And if you're smart, you look at it as a blessing, because it is a blessing. And once they're gone, that time is also gone. You don't get it back. And even though I was close to my mom and I did see her every day, and we had a really good banter, and we had a lot of good times. God, I'd give anything for more time, or with my grandfather and all this stuff, anything. I would take my mom if she was bitching at me and we were arguing. God, I'd give anything to fight with her. That would even be fun. Like, so I guess the lesson is to just enjoy whatever it is, drop the expectations and just be there and try to find the good, try to make the memories, try to have the moments. And they may not be the memories that you want to have with that person, but they're your memories with that person nonetheless.
Yeah, because they'll be the last in some cases.
Yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully, like I said, in the roundabout ways, my dad will have someone to take care of him, or at least that's my hope. My mom at one point was even talking about going into a home.
Oh, wow.
But she kind of got away from that. She's a go-getter.
Mm-hmm.
My mom is, she's one of those crazy people that mixes like Comet and bleach to clean the tub. And we always used to joke that we would find her like, dead in the bathtub because she would do that shit where no windows were. So she's a go-getter, and I think my mom in the roundabout way is not going to give in that easy, no matter how bad she is or someone tells her she is. So I think it's going to be an interesting ride along the way with my parents, but I can see how your friends have to just be utterly hurting. I mean, at least the way I see it, there's no way I could handle that because you don't want to see that happen. I think that's why a lot of people hire people to do it.
Yeah. And it's all perception too. I mean, you could look at it as like, fuck, this is horrible. I can't stand this. I can't take care of my mom. She's not right. She's not this. My dad is doing this or that. You could take that stance, but you're missing an opportunity for growth. You're missing a chance to spend time with somebody you're not going to get again. Mm-hmm. And truly, it doesn't have to be as hard. It's going to be hard already. Just watch your perception of it so that it doesn't get worse, because it's up to you as how bad things are going to feel. You could take it and just run with it, or you could let it just mess you up the whole time. Nonetheless, your parents are getting older and they're not going to be around for too much longer. And you can make it hard or easy. It's up to you.
That's probably a great way to wind down this show, even though it's going to be a little bit shorter show than usual. I think
I'm okay with that.
I think we've hit this one pretty hard. I mean, without getting, overly emotional. Look, it's a hard ride. And I think that people who are doing this should be commended. If you're the family member who is, and you have family members who don't think that they're
not winning. They're just they're not going to get the moments. Yeah.
Yeah. They're missing out on the people who you care about most. So I would say, at least from my point of view, take every last second, don't live with regret. And, being a good child is sometimes having to do the hard things.
It is. And it is. It's something that's really difficult to do. But again, the life we live is not supposed to be easy, and anything that's worth anything is going to be a struggle. It's going to be difficult. So if you just set your intentions that way, it doesn't have to be such a bloody freaking mess all the time. It doesn't have to be so bad.
Exactly. So
and on that, since we're closing out the show, would you like to go over our normal thing that we do at the end?
Our normal
We'll do that.
Our normal banter about how cool and great our listeners are so far.
Yeah, we're really doing well. We've been at this for about 2 months now, exactly 2 months, and we have over 500 downloads in 2 months. So thank you guys for listening, and thank you for following us and for leaving comments and giving us little critiques when we've needed them. And as always, continue to listen and subscribe. You could follow us on Facebook and Instagram. You could listen to us on Spotify, Google, Amazon, Apple, Facebook. And to all those listeners in the United States, Colombia, Russia, Italy, England, India, and Australia, thank you so much for listening to us, and we hope to continue to do this. So please tell your friends and have them subscribe, and we could continue to have these podcasts for you each week.
I totally agree. And I do want to thank my friend in the United Kingdom or England. I know that I asked her to at least check out one so I could see it on our analytics, and she's actually listened to more than that. So I do appreciate you listening. I think it's very nice. I don't know who in the hell in Russia is listening to us, but I think that's pretty awesome.
It is.
And on that, this is a show about opinions. So, don't get this twisted. It's literally just an opinion show, and you probably won't like ours sometimes. But on that, please come back and keep listening, because, I'd rather be loved to hate or hated to love. I don't know. One of those things. Everything's all crazy. So, but we'll go from there, and we'll see you or hear us, something like that. I don't know. This whole video chat thing is getting me.
You're a hot mess today.
Yeah, I see you, but they hear me. So on that, please come back and listen. Thanks, everybody. And we'll see you soon.